Hello, I'm Peter Eisler, investigative reporter at USA Today.
I'm Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today.
We're honored today to have with us three former top-level officials from the National Security Agency. Among the three of them, they have the better part of 100 years of experience in the intelligence community, most of that time at the NSA. All three are whistleblowers who have been raising concerns for years about the NSA's collection of Americans' phone and internet data. This is the first time that all three have appeared together to discuss the latest issues that have arisen now in the news with the recent intelligence leaks from NSA contractor Edward Snowden. Also with us we have Jessalyn Raddick, a lawyer with the Government Accountability Project, who herself has represented all three of these men and also is herself a former Justice Department whistleblower.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
William Binney, Thomas Drake, Kirk Wiebe, and Jessalyn. Thank you all for being with us. All of you raised your objections to NSA programs and the extent of the surveillance that they involved for months or years before they erupted publicly. With Edward Snowden, he went directly to the news media from the start. Based on your experience, did he have another effective option?
Well, I mean, we tried to stay for the better part of 7 years inside the government, trying to get the government to recognize the unconstitutional illegal activity that they were doing and openly admit that and devise new ways that would be constitutionally and legally acceptable to achieve the ends that they were really after. And that just failed totally, because no one in Congress we couldn't get to anybody in the courts, and certainly the Department of Justice Inspector General's office didn't pay any attention to it, and all of the efforts we made just produced no change whatsoever. All it did was continue to get worse and expand.
So he did the right thing, do you think?
Yes.
The other piece
yes,
of that, well,
I think
yes.
he did, yeah.
But
I mean,
the other piece of this was we weren't just trying to talk about privacy. The way the government was going about deriving intelligence from digital data flows was poor form, uninformed. There seemed to be more of a desire to contract out and cause a money flow than there was to actually perform the mission. And Tom can tell you he's professionally trained in how major organizations acquire major capabilities, and he saw none of it. Right, Tom?
Well, there is a bottom line, though. The government unchained itself from the Constitution as a result of 9/11. Yep. And in the absolute darkest of secrecy, at the highest levels of the government, approved by the White House, NSA became the executive agent for a surveillance program, extraordinarily broad surveillance program that turned the United States of America effectively into the equivalent of foreign nation for dragnet electronic surveillance. And they started with phone numbers.
So Justin, so all three of you would say you wouldn't criticize him for going public from the start because your experiences of trying to do it by the book didn't work.
In fact, I think he saw and read about what our experience was, and that helped. That was part of his decision-making.
We failed.
As their attorney, I would note not only did they go through multiple and all the proper internal channels and they failed, but more than that, it was turned against them.
That's right.
The fact that they went through the proper channels, the Inspector General was the one who gave their names to the Justice Department for criminal prosecution under the Espionage Act. They were all targets of a federal criminal investigation, and Tom ended up being prosecuted. And it was for blowing the whistle. They didn't say that in the prosecution, but that's what they all had in common.
So there's this simple-minded question, which we ask on our front page a week or so ago: hero or traitor for Edward Snowden? What do you think, hero or traitor, or something else?
Certainly he performed a really great public service to begin with by exposing these programs and making the government, in a sense, publicly accountable for what they're doing. At least now we're going to have some kind of open discussion about that. But now he's starting to talk about things like the government hacking into China and all this kind of thing. He's going a little bit too far. I don't think he had access to that program, but somebody talked to him about it. So he said, from what I've read anyway, he said that somebody, a reliable source, told him that the U.S. government was hacking into all these countries. So, but that's not a public service, and now he's going a little beyond public service. So he's transitioning from whistleblower to to a traitor.
We don't know.
Thomas Drake, what do you think?
He's an American who was exposed to some incredible information regarding the deepest secrets of the United States government. And we're seeing the initial outlines and contours of a very systemic, very broad, a Leviathan surveillance state. And much of it is in violation of the fundamental basis for our own country. In fact, the very reason we even had our own American Revolution. And the Fourth Amendment, for all intents and purposes, was revoked after 9/11. So none of this surprises me, because I was actually there seeing the same things he saw, but there was no faux legal kabuki dance to cover it as if it was approved. So, but it's been quite dramatic in terms of the effect that it's had. But he is, by all definitions, a classic whistleblower. And by all definitions, he exposed information in the public interest. And we're now finally having the debate that we've never had since 9/11.
Kirk, you agree with that?
Well, yes. I mean, we had an expression when we worked for the government. When the government wants something bad, they get it bad. And that's exactly what's happened. What I mean by that, it wasn't carefully thought through. The first attempt, Trailblazer, was concepts on a PowerPoint slide. They didn't have anything to stand on, essentially. And for about 4 or 5 years, there was a tremendous loss of intelligence that people don't realize, simply because a major program in the intelligence community that was very important to the nation's security failed. It isn't just the billions of dollars, it's the failure to secure the nation. And people blinked and went on as though nothing happened.
This was all unnecessary. It's important to note that the very best of American ingenuity and inventiveness, creativity, had solved the major challenge problem NSA faced. How do you make sense of vast amounts of data, provide the information you need, to protect the nation, while also protecting the fundamental rights that are enshrined in the Constitution? The government, in secret, decided willfully and deliberately that that was no longer necessary after 9/11. And so they said, you know what? Hey, for the sake of security, we're going to draw that line way, way over. And if it means eroding the liberties and freedoms of Americans and others, hey, so be it, because that's what's most important. But this was done without the knowledge of the American people.
Can I answer your original question, hero or traitor, was the original question. And I unfortunately, a lot of I don't like these labels, and they're putting people into the categories of two extremes, villain or saint. And what he really is, by law, he fits the legal definition of a whistleblower. He is someone who exposed fraud, waste, abuse, and in his case, illegality. He had a reasonable belief that what he saw evidenced that, and based on the fact that PRISM violates 2 federal laws and the Fourth Amendment, he clearly fits the definition in that way. And he also said he was making the disclosures for the public good and because he wanted to have a debate. And again, in that sense, he's also a whistleblower. If there was going to be a label for him, that's what I would use. But again, I feel like trying to pigeonhole him into these dichotomous categories is not useful.
I believe he should be prosecuted in order. He should fall in line after the previous administration, the president, vice president, all the leaders of all the chiefs and deputies of the NSA, all of them that participate, all the people in the intelligence committees that approve this, they should all be prosecuted, and he should come after all of them.
Yeah.